What's up, TikTok? First and foremost, happy Easter. I'm recording this on Easter. I don't necessarily know if it's gonna make it out, but hopefully I can edit it and get it out in the proper time. I do feel like with the topic at hand that's the perfect, or today is the perfect day to probably address this. As you can see, the person who made this video, or the person's video that I'm stitching, they have the opinion that slaves suffered more than Christ on the cross. And basically what I'm going to be doing in this video is debunking it and proving why Christ suffered more on the cross than slaves did. Before I go ahead and get started, I'm going to be making sure that I speak with love and not having this holier than thou approach that Christians tend to have in today's society, especially everything that's going on with Jaden Ivey and his self-righteous approach. I'm going to make sure that I'm speaking with love, so that way both sides can hear my argument and hopefully come away with my message. One thing that I don't necessarily like doing, and this is more than just this specific topic, is playing the suffering game. When you play the suffering game, you maybe not intentionally take away from both groups as far as demeaning what the other group went through or what the other person went through in regarding to their suffering. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and dive all the way in. One thing that I noticed is that a lot of people who make opinions about Christianity are lacking in knowledge of what Christianity truly is, or some aspects of it. I'm not saying that I know everything, because I certainly don't. But when it comes to some topics, I think I'm fairly knowledgeable enough to share my opinion. One thing that we tend to do as Black people, maybe Black Christians specifically, or believers, sometimes we take our Black pride and it overshadows our Christian faith. And I think that we can certainly see that definitely in the comment section of that video, and it can kind of cause us to forget what Christ has done for us or who God is. I know for me specifically, when I first saw the video, for 2 seconds, I agreed. I thought to myself, man, this guy is right. Slaves did suffer more than Christ on the cross. And I said specifically, I remember this, we went through hell, but then God responded to me, like almost at an instant. I was in hell. And so I want to remind us all that the suffering that Jesus Christ went through did not end on the cross. 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 18 through 19 says, "For Christ also suffered once for sins, the righteous for the unrighteous, to bring you to God. He was put to death in the body, but made alive in the spirit. After being made alive, he went and made proclamation to the imprisoned spirits." I'm going to say that again. After being made alive, he went and made proclamation to the imprisoned spirits. As we know, those who God deems unrighteous, their spirits are imprisoned into hell. So what this is telling us is that after Jesus Christ died on the cross, his body descended into hell. And as we believe, he spent 3 days in hell. 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 9 tells us, "They will be punished with everlasting destruction and shut out from the presence of the Lord and from the glory of his might." I'm going to highlight 2 words here: everlasting destruction. So what this means is that they're referring to people who are going to experience hell. People who are in hell experience hell for eternity. That's what everlasting destruction is. There's this eternal torment and torture that those have to face. Why is this important? As we know, Jesus spent an eternal 3 days in hell. Now, I know that this may not make sense. How can someone spend an eternity for only 3 days, and an eternity of torture for 3 days? But that's the point. It's not supposed to make sense to us. The type of pain that in torture that Jesus went through on the cross and in hell, it's something that we can't possibly fathom. I feel like that's why people have this take, because they possibly can't understand what Jesus suffered while he was on the cross. For us, it's non-conceptual. It doesn't make sense. So when you say that slaves suffer more than Christ did on the cross, we can kind of understand more what slaves went through. But we can't understand what Christ went through, because it's impossible. He suffered in hell. They suffered here on earth. And I'm not trying to demean what slaves went through, but as I said, when you're playing the suffering game, you're going to unintentionally do that. But this point brings me to the next point about things not making certain sense in Christianity. Lately on my TikTok feed, I've been seeing a lot of videos about the destruction of religion and people walking away from God. And it tends to be because they don't fully understand God. And I guess my question to that would be, or my response to that would be, why would you be able to? Saint Aslam, who was a philosopher in the 10th or 11th century, I really can't remember. It doesn't really matter. He created the ontological argument in which it states that God is that of which no greater can be conceived. So what this is saying is that God is so perfect in our mind that the idea of him makes him a reality. Now, I understand that that may not make a lot of sense to you all, but I'm going to break it down for you. If I can define God and understand who he is, understand why he does what he does, and understand everything about him, then he is simply not God. I'm going to say that again. If I can understand God, if I can put him in a box and define him, then he cannot be God. Why would we, as sinful human beings who are not all knowing, not all powerful, not all good, why would we be able to understand God in the slightest? And I think that's what the beauty of Christianity and the God that we serve is. We shouldn't be able to grasp the concept of God or understand why certain things go the certain way that they do because we're not him. If we were able to understand God and, like I said, put him in the box, then he simply is not God, and he simply would not be worth serving. Why would we serve something that we know everything about? That doesn't make any sense. Now, I'm not saying you can't understand God to the point where, you can't have a relationship with him or you can't understand his word or anything like that. But why would we be able to fully understand his plan or his will or, why he makes certain decisions? If we were able to do that, then he simply wouldn't be God. For Christians who may have felt challenged by that video or it maybe caused you to question your faith, in which I don't think there's anything wrong with questioning your faith, I think it's important that you pray for wisdom and discernment when seeing certain things like that and that you understand your words so that way you can get back on track whenever you have questions about God. But before I end this video, I do want to end this all with one question. If slaves truly did suffer more than Christ did, if I didn't change your opinion or, you're just stuck on that side, does that really take away from the sacrifice? At the end of the day, Christ still died for our sins. He still loves you. And if you pick up your cross and follow him, you're going to inherit the kingdom of heaven. If you're interested in more Christian-like content, follow me and my friends' podcast. I'm going to leave it here at the end of the video. But with that being said, happy Easter. Enjoy your day. Stay blessed.